Jason Enrique. He's gonna get me misty, y'all. I'm sensitive. Stop. I'm an actor, you know.
I'm sorry if I'm sorry if I tell the truth here. I'm sorry.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. We are back, baby. We are live in the studio. Well, you're not watching this live, but I'm live. I'm alive. And I'm so excited to be here today for another day at Bravery Studios with another episode of Act Up with Alana J. And today's guest is none other than the man who connected me to bravery, the host of podcast First Class and we second place, cause we first class and we second place, cause we first class and we second place, get out my face, yeah. The living legend, Jason Enrique.
Oh, what an intro. I love it.
You like that? You like that shit. You like that shit. And for those of you who don't know, you're about to know that whenever Jason calls me, whenever we speak, whenever I call him, I always say on the phone, Jason Enrique. You know, a la Jason Derulo. You guys get it. You guys get it.
I love it. Nobody else is creative to do something like that. Only you, and it's awesome. I love it. I never get tired of it.
Good. I really appreciate that because a lot of people think that I'm annoying, and that's fine. I don't care.
Fuck them.
Fuck them. You know?
I forgot to ask if we can curse, but now
respectfully.
Now I know we can.
Jason, have you met me? You've known me for what? Since 2007?
2007, but you know, I got to make sure I got to be respectful to the platform. You know,
yeah.
not everybody is allowed cursing. I've done my show where you can curse up a storm, and I've done a sports show where there's no cursing allowed. It's a family show, so I always have to ask and show the respect. So.
No. This one is for the real ones, you know? This one is for the real ones. And not for nothing, I don't know about you, but you shouldn't believe everything you read on the internet. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I read on the internet is that cursing releases endorphins. So I'm just trying to feel fucking good, you know? That's it. That's really all it is.
Oh, I'm sure about that.
Well, I'm so happy that you were able to join me today.
I'm so excited that you asked me to be on the show. I'm looking forward to this for a while.
I love it. It is an honor. It is a privilege. So let's talk about your journey.
Sure. Okay.
Into the podcasting world. Mm-hmm. Let's start there. Let's start there because you brought me here. How did you bring you here?
Okay.
Is the question.
All right. So I remember, like, during the pandemic, everybody was trying to figure out what to do to be bored because they were bored. There was nothing to do. Uh-huh. And what separates me from a lot of other people that wanted to do podcasts just out of pure boredom, mm-hmm. I've always wanted to do something creative-wise as far as like mic and a camera is concerned, because back in 2005, I wanted to get into the radio business, and it just didn't work out for whatever reason. I wanted to get into it. I tried to go to a school, didn't work out, and then afterwards I just said goodbye to that dream. And then when podcasts kind of exploded, it kind of brought me back to that, and I love the medium a lot better than radio because it's a dying industry, and you could do this with your creative freedom. You can do it however you want, and I just relished at the opportunity. And I was listening to a lot of other podcasts. Mm-hmm.
Anyone specifically that inspired you?
First and foremost, WTF What the Fuck with Mark Maron.
Oh yes, legendary.
I like, he's the one that made me realize that maybe I can do this. And I kind of, especially in the beginning, I kind of shaped First Class Second Place into what Mark Maron does with his. You know, he's had everybody from Bruce Springsteen to Barack Obama to everybody on there.
Right.
But he's been able to actually show the human side of everybody. And it's just a really concise, really deep personal conversations, and that's what I kind of wanted to do, because I think I was also kind of doing it for myself, because I feel like I didn't have a voice. I was always being shut up by a lot of people, namely my family. And
shout out to family. Shut them mouths. They be doing that. They be doing that.
I figured that, you know what, now people are gonna have no choice but to listen to me and what I have to say.
That's right.
And I've been having so much fun with it ever since.
You got the conch show from Lord of the Flies. What is it? You remember? Did you read Lord of the Flies?
I did not know.
Well, in Lord of the Flies, in order to speak, at one point in the book, somebody has to hold the conch shell. So this is like our metaphor. I'm saying it's either conch or conch. I don't know. I think it's conch.
I think it's conch.
Okay, I see. see what you did there.
What did I do there?
Yeah.
Mispronounce the word? Probably. I digress. Nonetheless, this is our proverbial conch.
Right. So, but to answer also your question, how I got to Bravery Studios. So at the time, I was doing my podcast audio only, just like how Mark Maron does it.
Right.
And I wanted to.
He still just does audio.
He still does audio
Okay.
only. Yeah. Now, there's a friend of mine. Shout out to Marissa Tong, one of my favorite guests and one of my favorite people of all time. I mentioned on social media that I was looking for people to come on my show, and she was one of the first people that reached out to me. And the crazy thing is that we've never met each other in person. We've never had a conversation with each other, but there was a little bit of a connection there due to the fact that we both actually used to work at the same restaurant that you and I used to work at.
Shut up.
But we didn't work at the same time that she did.
Okay.
This is sometime after you and I were long gone.
Oh, I feel like you may have told me about this person before.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
All right.
So she wanted to be a guest on my show because she was thinking about doing her own later on down the line, and this would kind of be like to be a foot in the door to get
Get her
that.
feet wet. Get her feet wet. See if she likes it. All of that. Yeah.
Now the problem at the time was that like this is sometime after COVID, things were kind of opening up, but we still had a lot of restrictions, and I didn't know her from a can of paint. She didn't know me from a can of paint.
You like that expression, I've noticed.
I do, yeah. So
that's one of your
it's
faves.
one of my idiosyncrasies, yeah. But she didn't feel comfortable coming to my house, and I was not going to go to her house. We don't know each other,
right?
So I kind of found.
So wait, so how did she find you? Since y'all, it was just what, Instagram?
Because,
it was just
because of the Instagram. Because we knew some of the same
people you may know, that type shit.
Exactly. Like we knew a lot of the same people from the restaurant, but we never conversed really. So
got it.
But we knew of each other's existence, and she saw that I had my show, and she was interested in being involved in it as a guest. So since we didn't know each other, and we couldn't it wasn't like I could go to her house and she can go to my house. I needed to find a place that we could, mutual ground.
Right.
So I go on Google and I'm looking for a New Jersey podcast studio. The first one that popped up was Bravery Studios, and it was in Groveland, New Jersey.
Bravery.
And I came here. I met Marv. And I just fell in love with the space. I thought everything was cool. This studio that we're in right now wasn't even built yet. It was just the one that in the other one first.
Wow.
And then they built this one afterwards. But
OG Bravery. You were part of the OG Bravery.
Right.
Put some respect.
So I just love the space. I love the studio, and I really got a good vibe from Marv. He seemed like he was a stand-up guy, somebody that I would really love to work with. So I booked a session.
And
then we booked a session, but then we had to reschedule because unfortunately my uncle passed away that week.
Oh no.
Yeah, so we had to reschedule it for I think the following week, and that's when I did my first official episode at Bravery Studios. It was audio only. We didn't do video yet, but that's what we started working, and then I started working here more because me and Marv got close. I was working I was doing my podcast at a different studio. Shout out to Jersey Media and Joe Fucarino.
Shout out to Joe Fucarino.
Yeah, but then afterwards I came here because I just felt like I ultimately knew I wanted to come here, and this is the place that I wanted this place to be home for my show. And like I said, me and Marv got really close. Like I wasn't even part of the Bravery family yet, but he was treating me like we were family. So I felt like, you know what, I want to make the move here, and it just felt like the time was right, and let's just do it. And I've been here ever since.
I love it. Yes, I swear, like. Every single person. I mean, I remember coming here and recording.
Yes.
The first time I was on your podcast, you were not recording out of Bravery.
No, we were at my ex-girlfriend's studio.
But shout out to that.
Yeah.
But the second time we were here, and I remember Marv saying like, "Oh my God, every person Jason brings to Bravery just like falls in love with the space." And same with like my mom and my titis came through the time that we had the comedy event. They didn't want to get off this couch. They was feeling, but they didn't want to talk. I'm like, oh, so y'all want to sit in front of the mics, but y'all want to be quiet. Okay, I see. Y'all want to be shy. Y'all are not shy. I'm gonna get them on the show. Because they got stories. You know what I mean? They got stories. Nonetheless, this is a little kind of random, but just going back to, it resonated with me, the fact that you started here, or you were supposed to start here, and then you had a big loss. Mm-hmm. Is that's something that I have found has happened a lot to me in my life, like in the midst of something, a breakthrough or some sort of big accomplishment, simultaneously I've been handed a loss. Mm-hmm. From the universe. Was that the first time you experienced something like that? Like on the path to a new endeavor that you were super excited about? Something, the universe throwing something your way that, I don't know, maybe even made you question, like, should I even be doing this, you know?
That's a good question. Not necessarily, but what I will say is that my father passed away in 2017, very unexpectedly from a heart attack. And I didn't do my show until 2021. Now, back then, when he had just passed away, this is around a time where I had kind of given up on my dreams. You know, I figured this is around the time where
the radio dreams.
Well, not just that, but there was a time where I was doing music. You remember that point? It was very brief.
You were rapping.
Yes.
Oh my God. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, I was
right now.
I was doing music for a while. I was doing a whole bunch of creative things. I just didn't know what I wanted to do in life yet, but I wanted to do something. But nothing was panning out. So around the time when my father had passed away, that was around the time where I just kind of gave up on everything. Like I figured, you know what? I'm not meant to do anything special. I'm just gonna work a regular ass 9 to 5, and make my life. Hopefully, get married with kids, the whole nine, and just live the rest of my days out until it's my time to go. And it was really, really depressing for me because I knew that I wanted to do something. It's just everything that I was doing was failing, and I figure, what do I need to do? And that's why I mentioned on my podcast and a couple other podcasts, and I'm even mentioning on your podcast now, that podcasting in general saved my life, because if I didn't have this medium, I probably would still be stuck in that same mentality that I was, or even worse, I probably wouldn't even be here, because there was a moment where I almost ended it all. Yeah. And it's because I didn't have that thing that I needed to really save my life. And this medium has saved my life. And that's why I feel like I'm always going to owe gratitude to it. And I feel like I can do this shit till I'm 80, God willing.
Yeah. Claps. Thank you. Marv read my mind. See, I told you he's I. That, I really appreciate everything that you just said. That was very vulnerable. That was very real. And I can really relate to that. Like, you mentioned a couple of minutes ago about how growing up or family often made you feel like you had no voice, that you had, they would try to shut you up and whatnot. And I identify with that 1,000%. 1,000%. And I really do feel like that is my origin story, if you will, is feeling like I have to pursue something artistic because my inner child's voice wasn't really heard and nurtured and respected the way that she would have wanted it to be. So now I feel like that is my why for stand-up comedy, for acting, and for this. So I really related to that, to you saying that.
And I actually spoke about this on my last episode of First Class Second Place. Shout out to Lori Love, who was my most recent guest.
Shout out.
There was somewhere in that conversation where we were talking about how, one of the reasons why we felt like we couldn't get our creative juices flowing or doing what we wanted to do passionately or in our dreams is because they figure, family especially, felt like that's not really that. You have to have a lot of luck in order to succeed in something like that. They were thinking about monetary reasons and career-wise, whereas I was thinking more like, well, this is just something I love doing. I'm not thinking about like, this is how I'm going to get rich. This is how I'm going to have a career. I want to do it because it brings me joy.
Yeah, and I want to get better at this thing.
Exactly, but I don't think because they're not in that creative space per se that they couldn't understand where I was coming from. And due to the fact that I was already shy growing up, and I felt like this is a battle I couldn't win.
You were shy?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
that surprises me.
It's funny. It's funny how things change. This is actually now. This actually made me to the point where now I can't shut up. My voice has been awoken.
I love that.
Yeah. So this. Yeah.
What's funny is that I'm a hypocrite in even saying that because I hated people as a child. I hated people. I would growl at people. I would literally, when I was like 2-3 years old, people would always be like to my mother, like, oh, your daughter needs to do this, your daughter needs to do that. And my mom would be like, my daughter doesn't need to do anything. All right? She doesn't need to smile for you. Anyway, so yeah, I really hated people growing up. And now I'm doing things that are 100% collaboration based. This is collaboration based. Acting is collaboration based. Stand up is essentially collaboration based because without an audience, what am I doing? I'm talking into a void. You know what I'm saying? So it's funny that I wound up pursuing things that make me need people when I used to hate them so much. I love you all. We're all beautiful. We're all children of God or whatever entity you believe in.
Yeah.
And we're all beautiful in our own ways. So, okay.
Yeah.
What was the first? Okay, if you can think back to when you were little Jason.
Yeah.
Where were you creatively then? What were your instincts back then? Do you remember?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up on TV, especially a lot of movies. I love telling the story about how I don't know if this happened to you, but I knew a bunch of kids like me that our parents, specifically our fathers, would buy that illegal black box that had all the pay-per-view channels and shit. So
That little black box.
exactly.
Yes.
So I got to watch a lot of
That
movies.
black box was lit though. Don't play.
I got to watch a lot of movies that inspired me. I was really mostly inspired by action movies. Like I would watch a lot of Bruce Willis and Schwarzenegger and Jean-Claude Van Damme stuff. Like so, True Lies and Die Hard with a Vengeance were the two movies that I watched religiously more often than not, and they just kept replaying them in 24-hour around the clock.
Yeah, which the young generation can't relate to. Y'all will never know.
Right.
About replays and reruns, all right?
Yeah, and one of the cool things that they did while they would show these movies, that sometimes they would show these behind-the-scenes featurettes. So I got to see how True Lies and Die Hard 3 were made behind the scenes, and I was like, holy shit, that looks fucking amazing. I would love to be on a movie set. I would love to like do these action scenes and so on and so forth. So
yeah, as an actor.
But initially, I told myself, well, maybe I don't want to be in front of the camera. Maybe I would want to direct instead, because even back then, I was like, not only was I shy, but I just didn't look. I wasn't confident in my looks.
I do know.
Yeah, I wasn't sure that if I
can
had the
relate
face,
in that regard. I feel like I said that as though, like,
Right.
yes, you should have felt that way. That's not what I meant. I meant that I can relate because
I know what
I felt
you
the same. I felt the same way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I for the longest time I felt like I didn't have a face for the camera, So
Yeah.
I figured, you know what, let me work behind the camera, because even that looks fun. And again, it goes back to the conversation where I was discouraged by my family, but at the same time, not to completely blame them, I was also very naive, because I kept on saying I wanted to do all these things, but I never pursued anything in that realm. Like I didn't go to auditions. I didn't, join an acting class. I wasn't working with other creatives. I just figured that, when I graduate high school, I'll just figure it out on my own, or it'll fall into my lap.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Did you have access to that type of stuff? Or
Yeah.
you had like where'd you go to high school?
Oh, I went to high school in Florida, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where? What part of Florida?
Miami.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it's all coming back to me.
It is.
I feel like it's all coming back to me.
We're Tarantino this shit right now, where the shit starts in the beginning and then the middle and then end and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's all coming back.
I don't want it any other way. So you went to high school in Florida. Were you living with your family in Florida?
I was living with my mom and my brother and my sister. So I was born and raised here in Jersey.
Yes.
But when my parents split up, my mother wanted to get the fuck out of Jersey. Like she didn't like it here. She didn't like the cold. And most of her family was down there anyway.
Okay. Is that where she was from originally, Florida?
When she came to this country from Colombia, yes. So
Okay.
she was from Colombia. She came to the country. She lived in Florida, and then
Warm-blooded.
and then she moved up to Jersey for whatever reason.
Copy.
I don't know. So as soon as the divorce was final, and then she moved me and my brother and my sister down to Florida, I was around like 11 or 12 at the time, and then I just stayed there until I was 18. As soon as I was 18, I graduated high school, I came right the fuck back up here.
So from 11, 12 to 18, you were in Florida.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I did not enjoy my time down there in Florida. I felt like I stuck out like a sore thumb. I didn't relate to anybody. I was even hated on by my favorite sport teams. Like people found out I'm a New York Jets fan, and they would ridicule me because it's Dolphin country there. And then there was just a whole bunch of things that just didn't vibe with me. I wasn't happy there. It just but I had no say in the matter.
Yeah.
So I just had to wait. I had no choice but to wait until I was 18 to actually come back home.
Yeah, relocating is a lot on a kid. It is a whole. I mean, then your parents splitting up. Like I can't relate to that whatsoever. Right. So I don't know how hard that must have been, but I can relate to relocating because I grew up predominantly in Manhattan and then moved here
on the GWB.
Yup. Shout out to the GWB. Shout out to mi casa. Shout out to El Puente de Jorge Washington. Okay. If you want to find me, that's probably where I'm at. But same thing. Like even just one bridge away, the culture is drastically different. And for me, like I was super resentful because growing up in Manhattan, I'm running around the street 10, 11, 12. I could go to the dentist by myself. I take myself on the subway places, all of that. Then to come to New Jersey, where you need a car to get everywhere, for the most part.
Same thing in Florida.
This is pre New Jersey Transit app. This is pre
This
cell
ain't no
phone.
Uber. This ain't no Lyft.
None of that. None of that. Now you got 10, 12-year-olds be lifting themselves,
had
Ubering
legs.
themselves.
That's
right.
how we got around.
That's it. The F-E-E-T, okay? That's what I take. The F-E-E-T. Tu sabe, okay? Anyway, so that, I saw the difference. There was a huge difference in maturity level.
Right.
Like I remember going to Paramus Catholic, like, damn, like y'all acting like I was acting in 5th, 6th grade. We in high school, like sit down, listen to your teacher, like it was. But I will say I'm very grateful because coming from New York and having to grow up a lot faster and being around 12, 13-year-olds that thought they were adults and they were the shit and they knew it all, I was very uptight. So coming to New Jersey where things were a little bit more lax, which I can imagine was probably similar to going to Florida from Jersey. Like maybe things were a little bit more lax.
A lot more lax.
A lot more, a lot slower, that.
They felt that was too hard edged. Like, first of all, they couldn't handle all my cursing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Back to the cursing. We acting up. Okay. Back to the fucking cursing. No.
Fucking up.
They couldn't handle the cursing.
That was just one of the many examples. And like, listen, maybe also at the time, holding myself accountable, maybe there was some things that I could have done differently. Like maybe I could have been a little bit more open-minded.
Yeah.
Like not carry this pissy face the entire time in a place that I don't want to be. Like at least try to make the best out of it.
God, my face was a problem ttoo. I remember being in a high school and like by senior year, you start becoming friends. I went to Paramus Catholic. I graduated from Paramus Catholic, probably a class about, I don't know, between 200 and 300 students. I don't know, which was huge for me because I came from New York City from a class of 50. The whole class, the whole grade was 50 girls. That was the whole grade.
You know what's interesting? Hypothetically, if I never left Jersey, we probably would have went to the same high school together.
If you never left Jersey, I had to do that math. So you think you would have gone to Paramus Catholic?
Yeah, because I was growing up in Passaic County, but my parents didn't want us going to the schools that were around there. So like we went to. I know that in my kindergarten years, I went to a kindergarten school. I forget the name of it, but it was in Paramus, and the address that they used was my father's business, which was in Paramus.
Got him.
Yep,
got him.
That's how they did it.
No, like. The point that I wanted to make was that by senior year, I started socializing with people that I otherwise would never have. And they would tell me like, oh my God, Alana, like, I thought you hated me. Like, I thought you were just like this bitch because you always walked around with this look on your face. I'm like, honey, I grew up in New York City, okay? I was getting catcalled at 8 years old, okay? Like, that's the face. That's the don't fuck with me face. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. And to this day, people still be like, are you okay? Or I'll find out later on that they thought that I hated them, and I'm like, nah, that's literally just my resting face. You know what I mean? Like that's just what it is. So, but what I wanted to ask you is that as somebody who also had the experience of moving and transferring and whatnot, do you think that maybe you were kind of focused on like doing what you needed to do to fit in and survive, and that took more of your energy, so that could be the reason why maybe you didn't explore these creative avenues like the acting classes and the acting club, the theater club, whatever it was that was available to you, just because like you were just dealing with fitting in and acclimating to a new environment? That's
a good question, and I think that's exactly ultimately what it was. I feel like
I love how I asked you the question and answered the question for you. Carry on, keep going.
Yeah, no, I'm actually like realizing it right now, in my 30 years of life, I'm realizing, that's probably what the case was. I feel like there was so many other things that I was worried about, like about trying to fit in and doing this and that. Because even during this time, I was doing music. I was actually writing. I didn't record anything yet, but I was writing, and people knew that I was,
bars.
Yeah, people knew that I was that Jersey guy that was, trying to become a rapper. So,
what was did you have a name, a stage name, a rapper name?
I did.
What was it?
J Mav.
J Mav.
It was short. It was short for Jason Maverick.
Yes, it's all coming back. It's all coming back. See, now I feel like I'm getting flashbacks of being at the bread station and like hearing J Mav's track in the kitchen at Maggiano's, which we can't be on this episode and not talk about Maggiano's, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
So J Mav, all right, and that started about what age?
I probably about 15, 16.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just really inspired by DMX at the time. Like I felt like his realness as opposed to the bling bling era that we were living in at the time.
Yeah.
And he was different. He kind of changed the game for me, and I was like, I want to be that raw, gritty guy. That just like fuck everybody and fuck the world. But also praising God at the same time.
Right. And shout out to DMX and our episode with Courtney Brown, one of my previous guests.
Mm-hmm.
She knew DMX before he was DMX.
Right.
And I can't wait.
Earl.
Yeah, she knew Earl. Exactly. So if you haven't checked out that episode yet, please do. Anyway, back to you.
Yes.
Back to you. So DMX was a big inspiration for you.
Yeah.
Any other inspirations?
Jay-Z for sure, and Nas for the storytelling aspect, because I feel like if I wanted to make a hit, I had to be like Jay-Z. If I wanted to be real, I needed to be like DMX. If I wanted to storytell, I needed to be like Nas. And that's the approach that I was doing it at the time. And I don't have any of the notebooks anymore, but I could just imagine some of the shit that I wrote back then, and I was like, really? I actually thought that this shit was fire. This is trash,
hey, give 5016 J Mav some credit. So you weren't recording. Were you performing? What were you doing? What were you doing with these bars?
I was writing them, and I actually had a little recorder that had like those little mini tapes, and I would just have that for the time being, so I could work on my delivery. But everybody kept on telling me like, oh, you should come to the studio, you should come to that studio, but it was going to cost me an arm and a leg. I wasn't even working at the time, I didn't have a job until I was 17 years old. So, and that still wasn't enough to pay for studio time, especially when I just finally got a car. I have to pay insurance, I have to pay gas, all that shit. There was no way I was going to afford studio time. So I figured, you know what?
This was still in Florida or up here now?
Yeah, this is in Florida, but it was approaching me graduating and coming back to Jersey. And that's when me and my best friend, who's still my best friend, still to this day, shout out to Dre.
Shout out to Dre.
He wanted to get into it as well, and we were actually recording songs at his house because he had like little mics like this and cheap little stuff, and also the computer. He knew how to work all the basics, and that's where we officially started recording. And those are actually some of the songs that you guys back when we used to work at the restaurant would hear. And, looking back on it, they were okay for the time, but I don't know if they would have aged well. Because especially considering that I'm a much different person now than I was back then in my 20s.
Yeah. I mean, thank God we got to evolve. You know what I'm saying? Shoot, it's been a minute.
Right.
You got any?
No, I don't. I do not.
You don't got nothing you want to spit? You want to spit? No. You want to spit a little something?
I don't have any. That part of my life is closed.
All right.
Yeah. So it's all about me. It's all about Media J now. It's no longer Artist J.
Got you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's none of those here. We tried.
Yeah.
We tried it. We tried it. But okay, so not that I'm trying to force a closed door open for you, but I'm just saying you have now been going into acting.
Right.
This is another avenue that you've been walking down. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk. When did you have the thought that it was something that you wanted to do, and how did you wind up getting your first opportunity to get in front of the camera?
Sure. Okay. So this is a great story also. So I already started getting into podcasting at this point, and one of the things that people complimented me on was my voice. Like that's one of my biggest characteristics, for lack of a better
You
term.
have a fabulous voice,
Thank
Jason.
you.
I must say. I really don't even want to talk. I kind of just want to listen, And that's a lot coming from me. So.
Yeah. So aside from doing podcasts, and I would watch a lot of these behind the scenes featurettes, and I see some of my favorite actors actually doing voice acting. Like I'm watching Tom Hanks voice Woody, I'm watching Tim Allen voice Buzz Lightyear and all this stuff, and seeing how much fun it is. And at the time, I was also watching the Boondocks a lot. So Gary Williams, the guy that voices Uncle Ruckus, I saw his behind the scenes, and I was like, he looks like he's having a lot of fun doing this. And even some of the people that voice The Simpsons, they have such a great career because they've been doing it for so long, and they're pros at it.
Those residuals. Those residuals be residual in a right.
And the fact that people were complimented my voice, I was thinking, you know what, maybe I should put it to use for something, not just have everybody listening for free. What the fuck? So I wanted to get into voice acting, and I as part of the podcast, you got to do a lot of networks. So I would go to these events and movie premieres and so on and so forth, and rub shoulders with people that are in the industry. And I ran into this group of teenagers, or they're in their 20s now. They was doing TV shows on YouTube. I didn't even know that was a real thing at the time.
Well, about what time frame did you meet?
This is around 2021.
Okay.
Yeah. So I
what's their YouTube? Can we say?
Yeah. It's actually a TV show called Nights with a K.
Nights.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to call it a poor man version of Vampire Diaries. That's essentially what it is.
Okay.
So I told them
poor Draculas. No, I'm just kidding.
From Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Holla.
Yeah. So I told them that I'm a podcaster and I would love to not only have them on my show one day, but I would also like to work with you guys because it looks like you guys have been in the industry for quite some time, and maybe we could help each other out here.
Yeah.
So they start filming season 3 of Nights, and they have a particular role in there for me, a werewolf hybrid called Jacob. And they asked me if I'd be interested in being part of it. And initially, I didn't say this out loud, but initially I was like, I thought about voice acting, but actual acting in front of the camera, that's a little bit, out of my range, I feel. And I was like, you know what, but fuck it. It's an opportunity. I'm not going to pass it up. I'm going to be a little bit more open-minded and have fun with it.
Right. And listen, any door that opens for you is for you. You know what I mean? Who knows what's on the other side? But if it's opening, you got to, why not?
And listen, even though
take a step.
And even though I'm in front of the camera, people can still hear my voice. So So it's a door opening.
Absolutely.
So I shot the episodes. They even gave me a chance to direct a couple of episodes, which is another childhood dream of mine. And I had so much fun here. We actually recorded in that event studio in Bravery Studios. I'll show you the video. It's on YouTube right now.
Look at that. Bravery just an incubator for greatness.
Right.
All types of things. I did a comedy show out there. You did a shoot out there.
Exactly.
We making greatness in here. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. So me working with them and working with other people that have been able to come on my podcast has actually opened the door for that. And now I've been going to auditions. Some people that I've actually heard my podcast, that are like producers or writers or directors, they hear my voice, and I actually got the role of a bad cop. The whole good cop, bad cop.
This is the one that you sent me. This is the one I watched. Yes.
I solely got that because of my voice and my hair, and I said I'll take it. And I just channeled. Long story short, I just channeled my inner Ray Liotta, and I'm very proud of that project. You know
what, Jason? There are a lot of dudes that I know that would be real envious of being known for their hair this day and age. So that is definitely something to be proud of.
Yeah, I mean, Mars says all the time that I got the best hair at Bravery. So.
I'm sorry.
It was at this moment that he knew.
I'm so sorry.
He fucked up.
I'm sorry, what?
Did I really though? Did I really though?
I love it. You know what? That'll be a game show for another day, for another time, and another place. You do have fabulous hair though. You do.
Real recognize real.
Hey, real does recognize real.
Yeah,
exactly. So, okay, where were we? Because I just got blown away by the hair comment.
Yeah. So basically, just trying to build up my resume and working on other projects. I just feel like I'm just. With the fact that I have a podcast and I've been able to get my voice out there with this medium, and due to the fact that I'm meeting people in the industry, has allowed me to, allow people to see me, not just for my look, but hopefully that's why I'm trying to brush up on my talent, because I don't want people to just, hire me just because of my look. I actually want to show that I have range if possible. And
You have skill.
Yes, exactly.
There are countless, innumerable people with talent, but if you don't cultivate it, if you don't work on the skill, if you don't work on the craft, like, you can outwork talent.
Yeah.
You can 1,000% outwork talent. So somebody like you who is willing to be consistent and put in the work, there's really no limit. There's really no limit to what you can do. And I also just wanted to mention that as somebody who just went through training, like the first legit training I've been through, I will say the voice is so important. Like, you already kind of have that in your pocket. So just keep doing what you're doing. Like, dead ass, keep doing what you're doing. We could do some classes together still. Jason did do a little workshop with me on the internet. So shout out to Jason.
Thank you.
Showing up. Because that's like 80% of it. It's being willing to show up and put in the work, and so you're already way ahead of the people that just talk out of their ass.
Right, and I wouldn't do the work if I didn't enjoy it. I'm at a point in my life right now where I don't want to do anything, respectfully, if it doesn't bring me joy out of life.
Right.
So me doing a podcast, me acting, me doing this and that, it's probably the reason why I'm probably happier than I've ever been in a long time, and this is what I needed. And in some weird way, I'm kind of trying to make the 20-year-old me proud again, because this is what it's all about. I wish I can go back in time and show that the 20-year-old self me is going to be just fine. Just got to have a little bit of time, have a little patience. It's all going to work out.
Yes. Can we please clap for that? That got me a little misty. Because it's true. And I know you mentioned like starting the podcast to want to show people's humanity. That's it right there. That's that vulnerability, Right. Vulnerability, if you're willing to be vulnerable, like, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at the things that can happen.
Right.
Honestly, two of the guests that I've had on the show literally were like, Alana, I don't do interviews, but for you, and I'm just like, that's so interesting to me. Like, I'm like, who the fuck am I? You know what I mean? But I am someone who is always willing to be vulnerable, and because I show my vulnerability, it makes other people more comfortable showing theirs.
Right.
So, in doing that, both of us were kind of helping people hold up a mirror, in a way. And
this kind of goes back to when we used to work together. I mean, I remember when we were working together at that restaurant, I remember there was this moment where I was extremely proud of you because you had let me hear a snippet of you on the radio. You were doing some kind of promo thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, this girl, she sounds great, and she's actually doing some great things. I'm really, really happy for her. And, fast forward to now, seeing that we're kind of like in the same on the same wavelength, and we're doing what the fuck we want to do. It's bringing me a lot of joy. I love the trajectories that we've been on so far. Yeah,
and I'm so grateful that they continue to intersect. That's really awesome. And same thing here, as far as like, I do what I do really for little me. For baby Alana, who would lock herself in her room and sing at the top of her lungs, and then, be terrified when she got found out, like, oh no, like, you're peeking in behind the curtain, like, I can't really do this, I can't, there's no way I could really do this, so now our grown versions of ourselves get to show our inner children that, the fuck we can,
Absolutely.
Yes, we can, and yes, we will.
Si se puede.
Yeah. I don't know what that means.
That was in Spanish. Yes, we can.
I know that one.
Okay, cool.
But awesome. So do you have anything else on the horizon as far as acting is concerned?
As of at the moment, no, but I'm always keeping my ears and my eyes peeled to see what's out there. I'm very fortunate to have a circle of friends that are in the industry that let me know if there's anything that's going on. I do have a backstage now, finally, so people can find me on Backstage at Jason Enrique. For anybody that's looking for this voice and this hair and this talent, please let me know.
Go get it. Get it.
And other than that, I'm just really focused on first class, second place, because I feel like no matter what I do in life, whether it could be acting or anything that is I haven't even thought of yet. I'm always going to come back to the podcast. I'm always going to come back to First Class, Second Place, because like I said, that thing saved my life. And if it wasn't for that thing saving my life, I probably wouldn't be on this trajectory that I'm at right now and doing things with people that I love and that are just as talented as I feel like I am.
Yeah.
And I'm just here for the ride. Right now, I'm just enjoying the journey. Hopefully there'll be more opportunities as far as acting is concerned. Nothing on that horizon just yet, but I'm very confident that it's going to happen sooner or later.
Hell yeah. And the same way that First Class, Second Place saved your life, Jason, acting deadass saved my life.
There you go.
Like, unequivocally. Because, coming out of college, I went to college to check a box. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. While I was there, I fell in love with radio, and I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. But as you mentioned that it's a dying industry now, it was a dying industry then, and we're talking over 10 years ago. Okay. So, I interned for Z100, I interned for Sirius XM, and kind of going back to the story about your uncle, the day that I found out I got my Sirius XM internship.
Yeah.
Was the last day that I saw my father alive.
Right.
So my father had lung cancer, and that was the day that I found out that I got the internship, and I went in to see him, and I didn't know for sure that was going to be it, but I just had it was the most terrifying thing I ever saw. Seeing my dad, looking at him in an in-between state. He wasn't here, but he wasn't gone yet, And that was really difficult for me. And part of me felt like, well, damn, maybe this isn't meant for me. Like, I'm taking a step towards something that I thought I wanted, but now and I'm also simultaneously dealing with one of the greatest losses I'll ever experience in my life. Yeah. I was confused as how to interpret that from the universe. But nonetheless, I did the internship, didn't get any jobs, never got a job out of it, which is how I wound up working at the Maury Show afterwards, because that was the only place that in the entertainment world that offered me a job. So I took it, and then wound up quitting and coming back to Maggiano's. Do you remember that? Were you there?
No.
Okay, yeah. I worked for Maury for about 3 months, and then wound up asking Michael McNamara, shout out to Mike Mack.
Shout out Mike Mack.
Our former GM. I asked him for my job back, and I did that about 3 times because I hated all my jobs except slinging Rig D, slinging meatballs. That was the only one that I was like, this is something that I know I can do and makes me good money. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Right. So my point, who knows what it was? Who cares? Do we need a point? No, we don't. I'm not here to make sense. I want to make dollars. No. So yeah, the radio thing didn't work out. The radio thing didn't work out as well. And after Maury, I felt like I wanted nothing to do with entertainment. But then, I was a figure skater growing up. I was a competitive figure skater.
I saw the video.
Yeah, that was my first foray into performance. I've always been a performer. And the times in my life where I didn't have space for that were the times in my life where I wanted to die. I mean, I was just like, what am I doing? This is not, there has to be more to life than showing up to this cubicle and cold calling all these fuckers at 7 a.m. There's got to be more to life than this shit. Right. So, I had a job in sales, like fast forward after Maury, went back to waiting tables, then had a job at a marketing agency, then had a job in sales. And it was during my job in sales that I realized, like, who am I doing this for? Who am I doing this for? Because it doesn't feel like I'm doing this for me.
Yeah, same thing happened to me when I was in the medical field for 3 weeks. I go to school for like maybe 6 months. I get my first job, and in 3 weeks I quit, and I'm not in the industry anymore. And at that time, I thought to myself, "Am I really doing this for myself? No, I'm doing it for everybody else who's telling me that I should do something because I feel like they know better than I do." Right.
Because somewhere along the way, I learned to not trust myself. Right. Somewhere along the way, I learned I didn't know what the fuck I was doing and what I was talking about. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. So, bringing it back to the acting thing, right?
Yeah.
I left my job in sales. I put an apron back on, started waiting tables at a restaurant in Soho, which was a celebrity hangout. Like Bon Jovi was one of my regulars, Kelly Rowland, Taraji P. Henson, Bruno Mars, Ryan got like big time people were regulars at this place.
Being a server is kind of performative in its own way as well.
What was that?
Being a server is kind of performative in its way as well.
Jason Enrique on Facebook. When I had Maggiano's as my job, I had actress. I put actress at Maggiano's Little Italy as a joke.
Yeah.
As a joke on Facebook. Did I not know? Little did I know, that was manifestation. Because I later on, without ever thinking about acting, because same thing. I didn't think I was conventionally attractive. I thought I had a face for radio. You know, all of that. I never in a million years ever.
You thought you were Jason Enrique. That's what you thought you were.
Shut up. I never thought.
Stop talking about a friend like that.
I never thought I would try to be in front of a camera either, you know? And going to Soho, working at this restaurant, everybody else in the staff was an actor. Literally everybody. I was the only non-actor at the time, except Cody. Shout out to Cody. So I thought to myself, well, I don't know what I'm doing with my life right now. Maybe I should take an acting class and see if I like it. Because all my guests would assume I was an actor.
Right.
All of them. And this one particular day, I had a gentleman say, oh, you must be an actress. What have I seen you on? You look familiar. And I was like, I'm not an actress, but you're like the 20th person to assume that about me since I've been here. Obviously, New York City waiter actor stigma, right? It's not.
Yeah, right.
It's not a huge reach. But I was like, I think I'm going to take this as a sign and sign up for a class. And that gentleman wound up being an actor on Star Trek. He was on a few episodes. I don't know how many seasons, but he was on Star Trek. I wish I remembered his name. I don't. Lo siento, you know? I did a lot of drugs back in the day, and shout out to trauma. Fucks up your memory. Anyway, I digress.
Right.
So I started taking an acting class, and I never looked back. Like, that was it. That was it. It was just, maybe I should just pay attention to what the universe is putting in front of me.
Wow.
And that was how I wound up. Like, that was it. I took a class. That's it. Now I'm here. Now I'm here with you, you know, here with my master's, here with, you know, a few legitimate credits, you know, shout out to BET, shout out to CBS, shout out to Stars, shout out to Investigation Discovery, shout out to ABC.
It's a lot of credits.
And
I'm proud of that shit.
I mean, thank you. You know, and it's so, when you don't have momentum, it's really hard. It's really hard to remember, like, why am I doing this? Like, nothing's happening for me right now. There's no movement. Why am I doing this? But then we get to sit down and have these conversations about these serendipitous moments, these full circle moments in our lives, and you know, where they've brought us now, and it's just lit. So yeah, long story long, acting saved my life. At that time, acting classes was the only thing that I could really show up for besides work. Right. You know, this is when my drinking was out of control. You know, I would show up hungover, but I would show up. That was the only thing.
Yes.
Acting was really the only thing I could show up consistently for at that time. And, you know, proud to say that I'm still doing it. And I'm 7 years without a drink. And we acting up. We acting the fuck up, okay?
Oh, man.
So, okay. What have been some of your, I want to ask about favorite guests that you've had on First Class, Second Place. And also, actually, let's backtrack.
Sure.
Let's continue on the acting train for a moment. What are some of the lessons, the biggest lessons that you learned thus far about acting and about the industry from the experiences that you've had on set so far? The process,
because I always knew about the beginning, like the pre-production, the post-production, but the actual process of in it, like I guess I kind of felt like I knew it, but actually experiencing it is a big thing. Where I could shoot like the short film that I sent you. That's a 3-minute short film.
Yeah.
We were on that set for like almost 10 hours. So the process of everything, how it comes together.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah. So I got to appreciate being around other people that made everything work, like the behind the scenes stuff, like the lighting, the camera, the production design, costume, everything, director, the whole nine. It's a whole process, and it made me realize and appreciate what these people do in order to give us the entertainment that we want.
Yeah.
And also, I'm pretty sure you've been through this before, but there's also a lot of people that you realize that are opportunists. Like there's people out there that are not necessarily talented, but they happen to know the right people, and they know how to sway. They know how to be a negotiator, and they kind of get their foot in the door, and they didn't even let their talent go in there. So, and then you're gonna have people that are kind of those same people, they're going to be threatened, they're going to be threatened, and then afterwards they're going to want to seek out the same things that you're seeking out for, but that's because they want to get a fix on their narcissism as opposed to actually doing it for the actual love of the art. And I think that's something that I can take away from and appreciate. Watching the process has actually allowed me to appreciate the art for it, and that's why I don't want to consider just on having luck or knowing the right people or so on and so forth. I actually want to get to the nitty gritty of it. I actually want to see, do like class 101, take a couple of classes and so on and so forth, and actually feel if there's something inside me that hasn't been tapped into yet that I could bring out and, bring out the best performance that I can, as opposed to just like hoping that this could catapult me to the next level in life.
Yeah. Yeah. All the yes to all the things. And as far as getting down to the nitty gritty, there is nothing that is going to get you there faster than the stage.
Yeah.
Than theater. All right? Live theater, y'all. Woo, listen, I just saw, let's put a pin in this because I want to know something that you've seen recently that's inspired you. But the other night, I just saw Hell's Kitchen, the Alicia Keys musical on Broadway. I was in tears during this performance, during this show, for so many reasons, like the nostalgia, of course, because it's all Alicia Keys music, repurposed to tell the story. So it's love songs sung from different perspectives, from the perspective of the mother, from the perspective of the mentor, from the perspective of the lover. You know what I mean? So it gives you an appreciation for these songs in such a different way, which was like the soundtrack to some of the greatest moments of my life. Some of Alicia Keys' music, like, is my soundtrack, the soundtrack of the best chapters of my life. But, being a stand-up comic, which people will say, like, that is the hardest art form, and I still agree that it is. But
it is, for sure.
I haven't seen a Broadway show in a while, and you go and see a show on Broadway, and you just watch for 2.5 hours. I could not take my eyes off of these people. Every single thing was done with intention. There was not an ounce of energy that was wasted. Everything. It was. I can't say enough. It's nominated for either 13 or 14 Tonys. 2 of the actresses are nominated for Best Actress of the Tonys. Which, for those that don't know, the Tonys are the Oscars of theater.
Yes.
Just all that to say, like, if you really want to do this, I highly suggest getting your ass on stage.
I actually would love to do that because I'll say this right now. Just the thought of me being on stage is kind of scary. It's kind of intimidating to me. But I also feel that I've been able to tackle a lot of things that I didn't think I would ever be able to tackle and come out on top. So to me, it's just another hurdle. It's just another challenge. And fuck yeah, if I really want this, I got to do what I have to do.
Yeah.
Come on, do it now!
Thank you, Arnold.
Get it.
Shout out to Predator.
The thing, too, is you'll probably find at first, where I'm at right now, acting-wise, whatever, let's go. It's not like I have no fear when it comes to getting on stage as an actor. None whatsoever. Stand-up is different because stand-up is me. These are my thoughts. These are my opinions. This is my life, This isn't a character's life. This is me. From Concentrate, you know what I'm saying? Or not from Concentrate. I don't know, whichever one is more authentic. Yeah, all of that. With acting, though, with stage acting, it's like, with both, really. The more you get yourself on stage, the more you don't want to get off stage. Like, I feel safer on stage than in a room like this having a conversation.
Right.
I do. Like, that is That is where I connect to the thing that's bigger than me. It's like my chapel. It's like my church, you know? Because the thing about being on stage, which, I mean, yeah, you have to for film and TV as well. If you're not present, I mean, even for this, being in the present takes precedence over everything else. It takes precedence over, you know, the line, because let's say something happens, you know, you watch a lot of stand-up comedy.
Yes.
Let's say something happens in the audience or in the space that everybody's acknowledging, right? And it's like, well, the comic has to call that thing out.
Right.
Like you have to, you're a juggler. You have to be paying attention to your scene partner. You have to be paying attention to the audience, and you have to be paying attention to everything that's going on around you.
Right.
It's bigger than that.
You have to be aware of your surroundings.
You have to be aware of your surroundings, 1,000%. And it's just, I love it. I'm addicted to it. Like it is, my body right now is missing pouring itself. It's missing being inhabited by another life. It really is.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of crazy because I feel like I can relate to you in this sense. Like, perfect example, I just had Crazy Legs from Rocksteady Crew on my show recently. Shout out to Crazy Legs. Little humble brag here. But when I was doing the show, I was nervous as fuck. But I feel like if I go into a crowd of people, like hundreds of people, I feel like I'm actually in my comfort zone. I don't know why that is. Like, how is it that I could be facing 100 people and feel in my comfort zone, whereas I just having something as calm and cool, as collected as this, and I'm a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
My anxiety's through the roof. I don't know why that is.
I don't really know the science behind it. I only know how
But you can relate.
How I can relate to it. Yeah, 1,000%. And I promise you that if you want to do some work, some acting work outside of this, you know, whether it's in preparation for your next audition or whatever, or you just want to work, I promise you I have some actionable things and tools and tips and tricks that can help you get out of that.
I'm all for it.
I promise you.
I'm all for it.
I promise you. So
and you're knowing you for so long, I feel like I could trust you in that capacity.
Yeah. And to the point of like why the bigger crowd versus, I mean, I know for stand up why I feel more comfortable in front of a bigger crowd than a smaller crowd.
Right.
It's because if I'm in front of a bigger crowd, there's a higher probability that someone is going to like what I have to say.
That is true.
There's you know, and then if they laugh, that's going to create, laughter is contagious. That's going to create a ripple effect, right? But, you know, if it's just like me and like, I did a show last night, 3 audience members. I mean, they were all women, so, and I was the only girl on the lineup, so, you know, they loved me. But,
you
know,
the advantage, yeah.
If sometimes it's in Louisiana and it's three MAGA bros and they not feeling me. You know what I mean? They not feeling me. I've been there. I've been there, you know? And it's like, all right, I gotta, if they don't find me funny, I still have to find a way to either break through to them or, you know, at the very least just be entertaining, you know, and show them that and usually when that happens, like I'll start singing dumb shit like, is it first class and we second place? Then they're like, you know, like, you're gonna pay attention to me, God damn it, one way or another. You know, you may not like what I have to say, but what you are gonna do is respect the fact that I have the cojones, that I have the ovaries, okay? That I have the ovaries to get on stage and do this, you know? So,
but you know what? I think that's why I love you when you're on stage, because not only are you naturally funny, but you know how to command a room better than other comedians that I've seen on stage. You know how to.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I think that your presence and you know how to engage your audience is one of the best things about your craft, and that's why I think that you're one of the best that I know.
I appreciate that so much. I really do. I really do. Because it's not, you know,
I don't think it's something that can be taught. I just think it's naturally something you're born with and you're using it to your advantage. So kudos to you, because I know there's a lot of people that have potential that they probably don't even realize it, but you realize your potential, whether you want to agree or not.
Yeah. And, you know, I'll take all of that. I'll take all of that because, I mean, it's not a coincidence, you know? Like, I've trained as an actor. I've trained doing improv. And this is what I wanted to talk about, hip-hop wise.
Let's do it.
So I have done and performed, I used to be on a team called DMXX. We were an all-women identifying hip-hop improv group. So it's basically like if you take Wild 'N Out and Whose Line Is It Anyway, and they had a baby, that's what hip-hop improv is. We would do scene work into songs and we would rap in character. in character. Somebody from the back line, which the back line, if you ever go to an improv show, you know, people step forward. Those are the people that are initiating the scene.
Yep.
But you have people on the back line who come in for support. Whether, you know, they're making a cameo as a different character or whatever. I'm getting real technical here, but this is the basics. This is improv 101, right? So you have the people on the back line, they drop the hook, and then the two people in the scene, it's usually, you try not to make it more than 2-3 people in a scene, and they rap in character. And it's so fun, and the stakes are so low. The stakes are so low. Like, it's not about having Kendrick bars, you know? It's not about having Kendrick bars. It's about you'd be surprised at the reaction you will get from an audience when you just say what you need to say with conviction. 90% of this shit is saying it with conviction. It's delivery, right? We were talking about you were working on delivery, right? So I don't know, Jason Enrique. I feel like that's something. I feel like that's something that maybe inner child you would enjoy, because it combines stage with your former love of hip hop. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you never know. I'm one of the things that I'm learning about these days, just in general, in life in general, is just be open minded to it. Because I feel like I was so close minded in my own box for so long that now I'm free. This is my Shawshank Redemption now, and I'm living it. I'm loving it.
Yeah, definitely. You got to open mindedness. Got to be open. Got to be open minded. All right. I want to ask you now.
Yeah.
I can't believe we have barely talked about Maggiano's. Like, we talked about it a little bit.
Yeah. Feeling kind of hungry though.
Okay, we'll break this into 2 parts. We'll break this into 2 parts because I want to talk about encounters that you had.
Sure.
Whether it's you know, some of your favorite guests that you've interviewed, or who you want to interview, either or for your podcast, and then also what? Oh, okay. What time is it? 2:05. Give me I feel like 5 minutes.
Okay.
Is that okay? Yeah. I don't know how it shouldn't take us that long. Cuz okay, I want to get these celebrity stories out real quick, and then I just want to ask you what are the questions that I ask at the end? A God shot, so something that you want to recommend to the listeners. We'll get into it. Let's just go back.
Okay.
But we have 3 more things left, and then we're done.
Sure.
Rewind. Okay. So, podcasting wise, who have been some of your favorite interviews that you're the most proud of, and who are some people that you aspire to get on the show? And realistically or not, who are some of your dream guests? Let's say that.
Okay, well, your first one, definitely have to shout out Joe Benengo, because Joe Benengo, who's a sports radio legend for WFAN, he was on the radio station for 25 years. I remember listening to him back when I was into radio, and then fast forward to when I first got into podcasting, I was very fortunate enough to have him on my show. And one of the things that's there's 2 things that I'm proud about that episode. One, I felt like I was actually able to hold my own against an actual legend. He actually gave me his respect, and he loved everything that I did. So it made me realize that, holy shit, maybe this is something I'm supposed to do after all.
Yeah.
And 2, I know that my father was a huge fan of his as well. And if you believe in this kind of thing where I do, I believe that he was actually looking down upon this moment of me and Joe Benengo being in the same room talking sports, and in front of a camera, in front of a microphone, I'm talking to one of my heroes. And I feel like my father was looking down from heaven, actually being proud of his son doing something that's making him happy. So that's always going to be one of my favorite episodes that I've ever done as far as guests is concerned.
That's beautiful.
Definitely Marissa Tong has been one of my favorite ones as well, because I feel like whenever we get together, it just comes so naturally. You know, she's the co-host I wish that I had since the beginning, because whenever we get together, whether it's podcasting or even just in general, we have these conversations that can go on for hours and hours, and it just flows so naturally. And I think that our dynamic is hilarious, and that's why she's been the most featured guests on my show so far. And as far as people that I would love to one day have on, I've said this before on other podcasts and on my podcast. One person that I would really love to talk to is Jim Carrey, because not only is he one of the most legendary comedic actors of our time and so on and so forth, but I find him to be a very interesting person, and I just don't want to. I don't even want to interview the guy. I just want to talk to him. I want to see where his mind is at. I want to know what he's learned and what some of the knowledge that he could drop to me and my audience. And I just feel it could be like a real funny, but also very deep, integral conversation that is probably going to take me out of this world. And that's something that I'm kind of putting into manifestation that it can happen one day. And also, last but not least, this is going to sound shameless, but you are definitely somebody that I loved having on my show, because not only did the camaraderie between us, but there was a time when we used to work together where I felt like you were doing great things in the world and I wasn't, and being able to have that respect and have that camaraderie and have that chemistry between us, that I think that's just flows so naturally. It makes me feel like you've done a lot of things in this industry, and me being able to rise up to somebody of your caliber makes me feel like I'm actually doing something right with my life as well. So, and that's why I enjoy everything that we've been doing, friendship wise, creative wise. I'm just really very fortunate to be in the presence as a friend of Alana J.
Aww, Jason Enrique. He's gonna get me misty, y'all. I'm sensitive. Stop. I'm an actor, you know.
I'm sorry if I tell the truth here. I'm sorry.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much, because I mean, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for saying all that, because I don't really care what people say. As artists, we 1000% need a little validation. It is what it is, you know. Comics more than anyone, we need 10 laughs a minute, for fuck's sake, you know. Like artists really do. You do need a little bit of validation on the way. So I really, really appreciate that so much coming from you, and I'm so proud of everything that you have done as well. So just know, real, recognize real.
Yes.
In these streets, okay? Jersey, what up? Yeah, Maj, Mafia, lit. Get it. Don't stop. Okay. Okay. So much to say there, but we're running short on time. So I don't Jim Carrey, that is oof. I've heard some incredible stories about him. Like, for example, there is some documentary about him I watched. I don't remember what.
Man on the Moon, yeah.
Did this come out a couple years ago?
It was on Netflix a couple of years ago.
Okay. And was it in that documentary that it talked about how he no longer wanted to be pigeonholed as the funny guy? So apparently he would get on stage and like roll around on the floor and like bomb on purpose, because he was just so fed up with that being the shtick and the box everybody put him in. Yeah. Which, as far as like an artist with integrity, Jim Carrey all day, and that's what I like, you know. That's exactly what I like. Which, you know, in a social media world, it's getting a little more rare to find people like that. So anyway, I guess I'm just validating your pick. That's all I'm doing right here. Okay, so next thing that I want to ask: who is somebody that is currently inspiring you right this second, and why?
Ooh, that's a good question. Currently inspiring me. Do they have to be famous or just somebody that I know? Oh, okay.
Not at all.
Well, I mean, well, there's you, obviously. I just said that. I also have to say, I also have to say, I would have to say some fellow podcaster here at Bravery Studios, Hugo from the Hugo Boy podcast. He's definitely inspired me, because
shout out.
He wears a lot of hats. Not only is he acting, but he has his own podcast. He's in sports media. He does this and that, and he also is a rapper as well. So he shows that you can't keep one person in a box. You if you have the talent, if you have the drive for it, you go ahead and do it, regardless of what anybody else says. So that's a guy that definitely really inspires me as far as like content creation is concerned. And just a few others that I would also have to say Marissa Tong, we mentioned her earlier, because I remember when we first started working together on First Class, Second Place, and seeing where she is now as far as a podcaster and everything else that she's doing.
So she has her own podcast.
Yes, it's called Let's Just Be Real podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to her. And just seeing how it was in the beginning when we first met to what she's doing now. Yeah. That's inspiring in itself. And she's doing it on her own. And most importantly, she's staying fucking consistent. Yeah. The consistency is there, and I'm so proud of her. Like, she's about to have as many episodes as I have in a short span of time. Wow. So kudos to her. So it's people like that continue to drive me to make sure that I keep on doing what I'm doing, because if I'm inspiring them, they're just inspiring me as well to keep on going.
Love it. Love it. All right. And lastly, I really do want to add value to everybody that's listening. I want them to take something away, which I'm sure they're going to take multiple things away from what we've already discussed. But specifically, I call it a God shot. It could be a mantra, it could be a book, it could be anything. Anything, something actionable that people could either do or read or watch that you recommend to help them become 1% better today and every day thereafter.
Interesting. Some kind of media?
Anything. It could literally be anything. What is something that you do? It could be something that you do either every day, a daily practice, or a book. Anything that helped you become a better you that you want to pass on.
Walking.
Yeah.
Something as simple as walking, because I feel like there's some of these things in life that we take for granted, especially with everything that we consume with technology and stuff. One thing that really centers me and gets me in my calm space and realize that I got to get back to where I need to do. I just do a simple walk. I mean, it really started off when me and my father, God rest his soul, were, always butting heads, clashing together, two alpha males under the same roof. And then I just needed to get the hell out of there and I would just put on music or a podcast or whatever. And then I would just walk for miles and miles and miles, not even realizing that I'm keeping track of it. It's just, this is the clear space that I need to do. And it's sort of become a habit now. My father's no longer with us, and I have a lot of good things going on in my life, thank God. But that always brings me back to just keeping me sane, where I feel like if I keep on doing this, I'm going to get in better shape physically, but also mentally as well. And that's been a huge help for me. So just get the body moving, keep your body fit, and your mind will follow.
Yes. Little left, right. Let's go. Get up. Do it right now. Listen to another episode after this on a walk. Go do it.
Yes.
I love that. And I relate to that 100% because I haven't read the book, The One Thing, in its entirety yet, but there is a book called The One Thing that talks about basically 80% of your results should depend on 20% of your efforts. And for me, that one thing is exercise. Long as that is the priority in my life, it bleeds into every other area of my life. So I really appreciate you for encouraging the listeners to move that ass. So on that note,
I love it.
On that note, we got to move our asses because we got things to do and people to see. Okay, Jason, Enrique, tell them where they could find you and listen to First Class and we second place.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at I am Jason Enrique on all social media platforms. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube at First Class Second Place. Now streaming on Apple, Spotify, Google, everywhere you get your podcasts. And also check me out on Backstage at Jason Enrique. I'm for hire. You guys need a voice? You guys need a hair? I'm your guy.
Cast him, baby. Cast him. We got the couch. We just need the cast. You feel me?
Hey.
Okay. All right. And I'm Alana J.TV on all things. This has been another episode of Act Up with Alana J featuring Jason Enrique. On that note, bye. Love you. Mean it. Mwah.